This video is for the entertainment and education of grown-ups only. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friends and neighbors. Thank you very much for being here tonight. My name is Gavin. This is my channel. This is a channel where we like to dig into true crime. We like to dig into documents, videos, interviews, all sorts of things, but we really like to cut through sensationalism. We want to go right to the nitty-gritty of things. We do a pretty good job of that. But if that's your deal, you found the right place, and I'm glad you have. Welcome back to all of the fishies who like to hang out here, and for you newbies, I'm glad you're here too. We've got over 125,000 fishies in the tank. So many people have joined our little community, and I love it. I did notice that we had a lot of people waiting for tonight to start. Thank you for being patient. Oh my goodness, guys! You guys know that I'm doing this because Sorry, it's not about me. Here we go. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the case of missing siblings, ages 6 and 4, Lilly and Jack Sullivan, missing out of Nova Scotia. This is a case that I think has touched a lot of us. I think maybe it's because just the thought of something like this happening to two little innocents is just really hard to take. And if you have two beautiful little children in your life, or more or less, one, thinking about something like this happening is just horrifying. I think we're drawn to it. We want these kiddos to be found. We want them to come home safe. RCMP does not feel like if they were outside anyway, they would still be alive right now. But we're not going to give up hope, right? We want these kiddos to be found safe and sound. In the description below, I just added them before we started, so you may not see them there, but if you refresh, you'll see them. I did add a couple of resources that we're going to go through tonight, just so if you want to get updates on this case at any time, you can come back to this video and see it. The first one I want to show you, if you join me over here on my browser, is the RCMP has a terrific news release page. You can see that I have selected just Nova Scotia. The last news release on this case is on the 18th. Nothing has come out from the RCMP since the 18th, which I believe was Sunday. But this is always a place to look for updates. Number two, crimetimelines.com has a terrific case page on Lilly and Jack's case, including timeline. I keep using the word terrific. I want to say it like 90 times, but a great timeline. There are the dispatch audio files that we have not even covered on this channel yet. We will. There's so much there, and I've linked to them down below. The last thing that I've linked to, which we're going to get to tonight, is this archive content from the Department of Homeland Security about the Lost Person Behavior app. I actually downloaded, I purchased the app, and I'm so glad that I did because there's so many good resources. But this is the app that Search and Rescue, and actually it's a book with a companion app. This is like the Bible of missing persons. So we're going to get into that a little bit tonight. But where I want to go before we really get into anything is this article. It's from CBC, and it is titled, "It's Just Really Strange." This was published yesterday. I saw it this morning. It's just really strange. Retired dog handler weighs in on search for missing children. By the way, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do like a quick primer, okay? April 29th was the last time that these children were seen by somebody other than their parents. They were last seen getting off the school bus. The school bus driver waved goodbye to them as they got off the school bus. That was April 29th. On May 2nd, we're talking this year, at 10 a.m., RCMP got a call, or 911 got a call, reporting that the kids were missing. Mom and her partner have given a couple of interviews with media outlets, kind of explaining that day. I have questions. I think a lot of us have questions, and we might get to that tonight. I did queue them up just in case. But ultimately, what happened is RCMP mobilized and got search and rescue out, and they started looking for these kids. Now, this is a great picture, or the couple of really good pictures in here. This is a rural area, okay? Very rural. The house is surrounded by woods. They live in what looks to me a single wide trailer, which I know a lot of people in rural America and Canada live in. This particularly looks like I don't know that they really care for the place all that well. It kind of gives me an indication of family life in this family, but I'm trying to withhold judgment anyway. But you can see that this is out in the middle of nowhere. And so when police started looking for them, in fact, if we go back to crime timelines, bring it back over here, there is a really good map. You can just see that this is very rural. This is heavily wooded, heavily forested, rural Nova Scotia, Canada. Okay, so RCMP comes out, they start looking, they get helicopters and drones and dogs and everything, and they just cannot find these kids anywhere near the property. So the working theories, there are a couple. One, they wandered off into the woods and maybe were taken by an animal, or maybe they're out there and searchers just haven't found them. No dogs have caught their scent that I'm aware of off of the property. Theory number 2 that I've heard, and I think is a valid theory, is that they went out to the road and were abducted. And this does happen, especially in the community, the Indigenous Canadian community that their mother, Michaela, belongs to, right? This is something that, embarrassingly, we as a society should be embarrassed about this, especially women and girls go missing from our Indigenous populations and nobody seems to care. In this case, we care. We're aware of it. In the national media and the international media, we are aware of this case, these 2 little kiddos that have gone missing. So that's theory number 2. Theory number 3 is something equally as nefarious. Maybe they were taken somewhere and dumped. In that theory, for me, it's that they have been killed and they were dumped. I guess there are other theories. Maybe they were sold. There's so many possibilities, and we just don't know. So that is the primer on the case, and I'm sorry I didn't start out with that. So let's go back over here. This actually is a great picture of the house as well. You can see just how surrounded by forest they are. Okay. Despite an extensive search, no trace of Lilly and Jack Sullivan has been found since they were reported missing from their home on May 2nd. Glenn Brown says the circumstances strike him as strange. Allie Thompson has the story. This was a video thing, but they did a written version of it. As search and rescue crews once again depart a rural Nova Scotia community without finding 2 children who disappeared more than 2 weeks ago, a retired RCMP dog handler says it is baffling the siblings are still missing after such wide-scale searches. Lily Sullivan, 6, and brother Jack Sullivan, 4, have been missing since May 2nd when police received a 911 call reporting they had wandered away from their home in Lansdowne Station, a sparsely populated area about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. The children's disappearance set off a massive operation that included upward of 160 ground search and rescue officials, dog teams, drones, and helicopters. But after 6 days of scouring the heavily wooded areas surrounding the siblings' home, covering 5.5 square kilometers, that would be roughly 3-ish square miles, there was no sign of the children, and RCMP announced the search was being scaled back. You remember we covered this. We talked about this here on the channel. Search and rescue crews were called back to Lansdowne Station on Saturday and Sunday for yet another search, focusing on specific areas around Gaelic Road. An RCMP spokesperson said officials would be reviewing the information collected and determining next steps. Glenn Brown, who worked as an operational dog handler in the RMCP in several provinces for 26 years, said the fact that the Sullivan children haven't been found is just really strange. Quote, "I find it hard to believe that a 6 and 4-year-old would just disappear like that," said Brown, who was involved in hundreds of searches during his career. "I can guarantee you if I was still working today, it would be the thing to be racing around your mind all the time. Where would they have gone? We have done everything." And indeed, there's been massive search efforts here. Okay, Robert Coaster, or maybe Caster, I'm not sure how he pronounces that, a search mission coordinator with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management in the United States, says it's rare to never find the subject of a search. It only happens in about 5% of cases. That's actually shocking to me. And I'm of the age where I grew up with missing persons pictures, mostly children, on the back of milk cartons. I just thought they were everywhere. But according to Mr. Coaster or Caster, it's only about 5%, which makes me worry more. That statistic, it goes on to say, is based on a database he compiled of 500,000 search and rescue incidents from around the world. I'm just going to say Coaster, guys. I'm sorry. Also created an app called Lost Person Behavior, which was used by searchers in Lansdowne Station. Just real quick, I'm going to open up my phone and let me just show this to you. This is the app, and we're going to actually hop into this here in just a second. But this is actually pretty amazing. So we're going to get back into this here in just a bit. So this app was used by the searchers in Lansdowne Station. He said there are a few possible reasons the subject or subjects might not be found during a search, including that the search area wasn't large enough or that the team was assigned to an area but never made it there. This is something that we heard in the press conference from the rescue team manager, saying that because of fallen trees and debris that are artifacts, they're leftovers from the hurricane a few seasons ago, it has just been very rough going trying to get into that area. Quote, "The final reason is it can just be darn hard to spot people out in the woods sometimes. This is just a reality," right? He wrote the book, Lost Person Behavior, a search and rescue guide on where to look for land, air, and water. He continues his quote, "And all it can take is a second or two of looking to your left when you needed to be looking to your right. Especially with children, they can crawl into small, tight places or spaces that are obscured from view, so they can be very difficult to find." And that is as a professional searcher going out into the woods to look for these kids, that has to be a reality that weighs heavy. Gotta pay attention. That, like, if you just turn your head at the wrong moment, you might miss it. That has to weigh extremely heavy on professional searchers. I'm not saying I'm a professional searcher, by the way. I'm just saying professional searchers, that probably weighs heavy. While RCMP would not say what prompted them to return to the area over the weekend, Brown said it's not uncommon to bring searchers back in such investigations. In general, there are several factors that may prompt police to restart a missing persons search, he said. It's been 2 weeks since 2 young children vanished without a trace in rural Nova Scotia. The search for the siblings is expected to resume on Saturday. Now, this was written yesterday, Wednesday. And then it goes on. Oh, you know what? I think this was... Pull out. Okay. If police had received a tip or evidence, the substance of that information likely was not known by the searchers or even officers on the ground, given that the RCMP's major crime unit is involved. And I think that searchers are, they're comfortable with, this is who I need to find. This is where you want me to look. I'm going to go look. It doesn't matter the reason. I think that professionals probably don't need to be briefed on that stuff, and it's probably best that they don't. Okay, quote, they may tell them, we got a tip and we just want you to go into that area and search and see if you find anything, said Brown. They don't even tell their own people that unless you are in the know, unless you're in that investigative group. And remember that the major crimes unit is involved. And I think that they think that this is a homicide investigation. But that's just my opinion. I don't think they think the children are lost. He added that it's possible evidence has been found during the course of the investigation, but RCMP are not releasing that publicly. As well, Brown said investigators may have reviewed information that warrants re-examining an area, or perhaps there were weather or wildlife concerns that prevented them from searching a particular area before. Regardless of why they returned to Lansdowne Station on Saturday, hold on just one second. This, I think, was a call out. I don't think this is part of the article. I think the way that I made this, I don't think that they're going to return Saturday. I think this was something not part of the article that snuck its way in when I used my little cleanup tool. Okay, so regardless of why they returned to Lansdowne Station on Saturday, Brown said he knows from experience that those search and rescue officials and police officers are carrying Lilly and Jack with them every step. Quote, they look at their own kids and look at their grandchildren and their nieces and nephews, and they're probably wanting to go back in and search, he said. It's such a heart-wrenching situation. And of course, we did see that in the press conference. The officer that was giving the press conference actually visibly and audibly choked up talking about the children. RCMP have said they have not ruled out the case as suspicious, and the major crime unit has been involved since the day after the disappearance. The Mounties would not answer specific questions about the latest search and declined a request for an interview Tuesday. So 2 days ago. So that is what I wanted to bring you. Now, the fascinating thing, guys, let me reset this so it's back at the beginning here. Let me bring you over. Hopefully you guys can see this. I live stream in a horizontal format, and this app is in a vertical format. But let's just go through this a little bit. This is the home screen, and then there is a wizard that will take you through different things, right? Just you can select the categories that apply and then browse the profile, or you can just go straight into browsing categories. There are saved, I haven't saved any, but there's also several things about the book and the app and so forth. So I just want to show you a couple of things that this app covers, right? So it has the categories broken down into subcategories: abduction, aircraft, underwater, it's non-powered boat, person in current water, moving water, person in flat water, person in flood water, and power boat. Under wheel motorized, they have ATV, motorcycle, mountain bike, four-wheel drive vehicle, road vehicle. Under mental state, they have autism, dementia, despondent, intellectual disability, mental illness, substance intoxication. Under child, they have it broken down into age groups. Under outdoor activity, we've got abandoned vehicle, angler, car camper. There's a whole bunch of them in there, right? We don't have to go through every single one of them. And then snow activity. The scary part to me on this is that there is so much data because people go missing under so many different circumstances. I want to go into children, okay? Because our victims, Lilly and Jack, are ages 6 and 4, let's just go into child age 4 to 6, and let's read this tactical brief, okay? Understand concept of being lost and may attempt to return. So I think that's saying the children probably understands that they're lost and may attempt to return. When they're lost, they seek familiarity, landmarks, or a path they have experienced. Their minds are mixtures of reason, fantasy, and faulty logic. They are focused on endpoints and often neglect routes. They're drawn to animals, water, friends, following older children, and imaginative play. They have definite interests, follows tracks, trails, and shortcuts that do not appear or make sense to adults. So think about that. Like if you're a searcher in the woods, you have to think, okay, I don't see a track here, but would a 6-year-old child see some sort of trail here? And do you remember when I was a kid, we had this area. Once we moved to the city, we had this area that was a green space, and we would go back there with our bicycles, and with our shovels, we would make ramps, and we would play in the woods or in the creek. I remember specifically going, ooh, what's through that tunnel? There was no tunnel. There was just like in the woods, I could see a pattern as a little kid. That looks like a tunnel. I want to go in that tunnel. So the searchers searching for a 4 and a 6-year-old would have to think, okay, what pattern do I see here that a child might see that might say, that's a trail, that's an interesting place, I ought to go. Interesting. Hiding in structures or yard, highly common in urban environments. May hide in trunks, boxes, appliances, outbuildings, and main structures. This reminds me of when I was a child. I can barely remember this. I must have been 4. Like I can only remember one part of it, but I went missing. And my parents got so worried. My dad was at work. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She couldn't find me anywhere. She called my dad. My dad rushed home. They ultimately called 911. I was missing. While they were being interviewed by police, and my mom, who I wouldn't say, she's a person who doesn't panic, but it's not like she was hysterical, but she was concerned, right? She doesn't panic. It's one of the wonderful things about my mom. She just doesn't. While they were being interviewed by police, I got up from a nap that I had found in a warm place underneath the stairs where we kept a pile of sleeping bags. I had just gone into a pile of sleeping bags and had fallen asleep, taken a nap. And the part that I remember is coming upstairs and seeing my parents and police officers. So yeah, right? May hide in trunks, boxes, appliances, outbuildings, and main structures. So I think the first place that they probably searched was all of the places that we can see here. There's an RV back there, some kind of trailer. There's an old shed out there. It looks like a chicken coop. There's so many places in and around the house. I imagine that is where they went searching first before they went out into the woods. I mean, under the house, under the steps, just in so many places. they're able to penetrate brush. So look at it, the environment from a child's perspective. I bet that means actually get down low, right? Us grown-ups, we have a much harder time navigating our way through brush. Kiddos can do it pretty darn easy. While they may be initially unresponsive, they may become responsive when hungry. I wonder if that is something that they may say while they're out looking. They might call their name. Are you hungry? We've got food and water for you. Do you have something? Maybe, they have to say it like a child. But anyway. So this description I wanted to read too. If lost as part of group with adults, a child is classified based upon adult activity. If with a group of children, subjects are classified based upon the oldest child. Single subjects are in the preschool category regardless of activity, unless external force or on wheels. Children age 4 to 6 are more mobile and capable than those in the 1 to 2, 3-year-old category. They run smoothly, gallop, and are able to skip with one foot. They understand being lost and attempt to return home, to a familiar place, or to a caregiver. The mind is a mixture of reason, fantasy, and faulty logic. At 6 years old, a child can be taught to turn around and to note and remember landmarks. At 6 years old, a child is focused on endpoints, although often neglects or is unable to describe all of the decision points along the way. Preschoolers have an allowable home range, outdoor territory, for independent travel, play, and exploration. Range of lost distances can be 50% greater than home range differences. I don't know how they define that. Maybe it's the parents who defined, here is their range, right? That where they are familiar with their surroundings. This is the range. And like I told you guys the other day, like when I was a kid, you couldn't keep clothes on me or keep me like pinned in. I had to run free. And when I was that young, we lived in a very rural spot full of fields and livestock and stuff like that. So I bet I was a worry to my parents. But come to think of it, yeah, I would have had a range when we lived with Grandpa and Grandma. It would have been the Marchant's farm. It would have been Grandpa's scrap yard. His salvage yard is what he called it. Grandma called it a junk yard, and he said, it's not junk. It's a salvage yard. And then, up on the mountain behind Grandpa and Grandma's. If I went too far, I would get lost. 50% greater than home range distances. Many children fail to follow limits parents place on the home range. 5 to 7-year-old children accompany peers or older playmates to sites beyond view of the house. They have definite interest and may attempt to travel to specific locations. They may be easily drawn by animals. This includes following pets. Or maybe they see like a little squirrel or a bird or something like that. I hadn't thought about that. So they're drawn to animals, water, finding a playmate, exploring, following children, or imaginative play. They may not understand the concept of a return trip when engaged in imaginative play. They often follow tracks, trails, and shortcuts that do not appear or make sense to adults. When lost, they seek familiarity, looking for landmarks, a path, or scene they have experienced. Children this age are difficult to detect because of their small size and ability to squeeze into small spaces in urban settings. Hiding in a structure or yard still accounts for over half of the finds. They're often hiding or sleeping in a structure, including yards and outbuildings. They may hide in trunks, boxes, or appliances and may be unable to escape. Often they have been instructed to avoid strangers. They may hide or not respond to searchers. However, when hungry, they tend to become more responsive. So that's the profile. He has a whole bunch of things here that I haven't been able to click into, but they're like, okay, here's the investigation tasks, right? Get your weather conditions, get your initial planning point, obtain a historical data, get their descriptions and named. I mean, this is really, really thought out terrifically. My only complaint about this app is that I can't see, like, right underneath interview questions. I can't expand that out. Maybe the app can be updated sometime. But, and then, here are the initial tasks for the search. And I think under statistics, this is important, okay? So in a mountainous, temperate area, 25% of cases, distance traveled is 0.2 kilometers or 0.1 miles. And then 50% of... hold on. I don't get how the math works there together. 25%. Oh, so they're beyond. It's probably a threshold, right? In 25% of cases, they're beyond 0.2 kilometers. In 50% of cases, they're beyond 0.8 kilometers. 75% of cases, they're beyond 1.5 kilometers. And 95% of cases, they're beyond 3.7 kilometers. Is that how I'm reading that? Let's hit the... Distance is the crow's flight distance from the initial planning point to the find location. Investigative cases are excluded from the data. The bar graphs and table reports the distances within which 25%, 50%, 75%, and 95% were found. Okay, I got it. The 95% distance is often used as the practical extent of the statistical search area. All right, so in 25% of cases they are found. Got it. And we can play around with this. Like if we do flat and a dry environment, it switches. Urban environments, it's pretty amazing. So let's go to mountain. They're in flat, temperate environments. So, I wanted to see, so in 95% of cases, they are found within 4.3 hours. And it looks like it doesn't seem to matter uphill or downhill. It's all about a third. The find location. This is where I wanted to get to. Look at this. 29% of finds are in a structure, 15 on a road, 14 linear. I'm not sure what linear means, but okay. In the woods are 13%, water 10%, drainage 9%, field 6%, scrub 2%, brush 1%, rock 1%. And the scenario is they're lost, overdue, investigative, evading, criminal, despondent, medical, drowning, strand of trauma. So the vast majority is that they are simply lost. Survivability, if they're uninjured in wilderness areas, 90%, right? Survivable. If they're injured, let's see. I think 90%, that accounts for 90% of fines. Injured are 4%, fatalities 4%, 2% is no trace. So yeah, where he was saying 95% of these are solved. It's you can see what the statistics show. The survivability rate, less than 24 hours, 98%, greater than 24, 38%, greater than 48, 33%, greater than 72, and greater than 96, 0%. And I think this is the reason that the police are so concerned for these two young ones. I don't know how I feel having gone through those statistics with you. I continue to be deeply concerned. Let's go to your comments. Gonna scroll up here, make sure that it refreshes real quick. Again, put GF in your comment if you want me to see your comment, okay? Love Frequency 500. How the family has acted towards each other since the disappearance is worthy of a conversation. In my opinion, there's guilty knowledge where it's a history of something or something more sinister. So I don't know the exact circumstances. There are two things that I know. The stepdad, is what they call him, Daniel, has stuck around and has been interviewed by police. He has been asking for help finding the children. He has tried to engage in the search. From what I can tell, that's a very important caveat, right? Their mom, Michaela, after doing an initial, talking to the media, she left the area. And I understand that she is with other family. Now, I don't know if this is still true today. I don't know if they're back together. There's been no news that I have read that has been updated to indicate it one way or the other. Remember that together they have 5 children. As I understand it, they're 2 from a previous marriage or relationship from him, 2 from a previous relationship from her, and then they share the baby. And I think that there were some COIS concerns. Anyway, if they are split up, yeah, that it's definitely worthy of a conversation. Love Frequency 500. It's worthy of a conversation for sure. I would say that I know that police are having this conversation, or I'm confident, let's say, that police are having this conversation. Like, why did she leave? Why did he stick around? That sort of stuff. That's certainly that's certainly something I hope they're having conversations about. It does seem to indicate. Does it indicate that there's a knowledge of guilt? I think that's one of the possibilities. I don't know that it's a probability, but it's certainly a possibility. Yeah. Thank you for that comment, and it's worthy of thought. And your opinion that there's guilty knowledge, I think, is a valid opinion. Let's see, Teresa Warner. But does the stepdad not have any other place to go? And that's also possible. Maybe that's why he's not gone. I don't know. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Scrolling down, a lot of people saying hello. Glad you're here. Have there been any polygraph tests? To my knowledge, the only talk of polygraph is I have heard that Daniel Martel, the stepdad here, has offered to do a polygraph. I don't know if a polygraph has been done. I don't know in Canada what the laws are on it, if it's anything that's admissible or if it's a tool that's used to make people nervous enough, that sort of thing. I don't know. Good question. Heck, Jess says, I lost track of my parents in Disney World once when I was 5 or 6. Gotta say, that is probably the best place to get lost. I got so much candy and free Goofy plush. Obviously, I'm lucky a good person helped. Yeah, because, yeah, it is the happiest place. And I'm glad that you were helped. Marlene Ring, Gavin, do you really think that's a chicken coop? I haven't seen any chickens. I'm thinking maybe a meth lab. That's funny. Okay. So, the reason I think that is a chicken coop I'm going to show you a little bit how the sausage is made, guys. I'm going to zoom up on that real quick. Just zoom a little bit. Let's see if we can zoom up on that. Here we go. The reason that I think that is a chicken coop is because of the area that is covered with mesh. I think in their area where they are very rural, they have issues with birds of prey, things like that. I mean, typically what a coop does is the coop is where they stay the night, and then the run is where they spend their day. I actually think I do see a couple chickens in the run. Again, we have to get like super close. Let me zoom up on it real quick. Again, sorry to like ruin the mirage of this being a professional channel here, but let's just zoom up on that real quick. I think I see chickens in there, but maybe I don't. I don't know. I think so. I think I see little hens pecking around in there. I think that if there were a meth lab, by the way, I think that these people would be under arrest. So, I don't know. With my deductive powers, that's kind of what I'm feeling. I don't feel like these are parents of the year. I think that they are lacking in training and instinct, perhaps, but I don't think they're cooking meth on the property because I think they would be in jail. Keep on scrolling here. Let's bring the kiddos back up. Oh my God, Susan, your mother must have been in a constant state of worry when you were little. Now I've got "Don't Fence Me In" running through my head. My poor mother was just run through the ringer with me. Actually, to this day, she probably just shakes her head at me in a lot of different ways. Like sometimes, I live 2,600 miles away from my parents, 2,800 miles away, something like that. And I will be on the phone with like Sandy Greenberg, who's kind of been like a bonus mom to me lately. I just love her to death. And I'll get off the phone and I go, oh, I should call mom, and then realize I have not talked to my mom in a month. What is the matter with me? What kind of son am I, right? I've always just been kind of off in my own little world. And when I was little, I certainly was, for sure. Broke says, I want to believe Daniel, but why was he searching by car for 2 hours before he returned home? Do I have that duration correct? 2 hours. I'm actually not sure about that detail. From the stuff that I saw, and believe me, it's completely limited, I know that he was back in the woods and then they wouldn't let him back in, according to him. I also know that they believe that there could have been an abduction because they asked for an Amber Alert. So it's possible that he was just doing the right thing by searching for them. Also, of course, we don't live in a fantasy world. We know all about people like Stephen Stearns. He could have been out doing something nefarious, and this is a very rural place. Not like there are traffic cams all over the place, right? So, I want to be real about it as well. And so, yeah, that is a little suspicious in that light. Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. What did Legend the dog find? I don't think the dogs have found anything. I don't know who Legend is. I'm out of the know. Keep scrolling. It's going to refresh on me. I can just feel it. There it is. Linear means progressing in a straight line. Yeah, I get that. I get it. Thank you very much, Rosalie. Christine says, What if the grandma took them for their own good and that's why the mother went back to her mother's? If they're on an Indian reserve, they're generally very mother-oriented. Again, possible, but I think that the RCMP would have been notified that they are well. Somebody would have seen it and reported that, reservation or not. And I know that in some cultures, some indigenous cultures, they do tend to keep to themselves. But I think on this one, man, I think RCMP would know. Okay, there it went. It refreshed on me. Keep on going up. Oh my goodness, a lot of stuff. Yeah, Mandy from Perth. I have an old friend from Perth, and I've always wanted to visit her and her family. Anyway, yeah, the poor babies have been out there way too long. Lexi says a linear place means along the river, road, or rail line. Something I've asked from the very beginning, if they were okay with the parents' searchers hollering for them, why wouldn't they answer? Well, I think we learned that children ages 4 to 6 just may not answer out of fear till they start to feel hunger. Kevin, it's not true that Lilly and Jack's mother's grandfather is native, sir. Has that been changed? Because it was reported that she was of native heritage. But, okay. Doreen Piper says, I think the mom and stepdad know what happened. That consciousness of guilt that we talked about a little bit earlier. Emily 53, Gavin, early on, were dogs used and the children's scents stop at a particular point around the property, given the impression that they may have been driven away? That is what I understand, but I don't think that I learned that officially. I think that just might be something that I read or heard along the way. KC says, Gavin, he has no choice. That's where he lives. She was asked to leave. Okay. If they're on the res, then no police can go on our res. Okay, so I understand that part of it. I just don't know that a secret could be kept. Like if they were on the reservation and the children were there, I think that word would get back to the RCMP. And I think I don't know Canada. And so I don't know what I'm talking about. But for example, in the United States, there are jurisdictional agreements with both state and federal agencies, even on the police reservation. I'm aware of like the Onondaga reservation up in upstate New York, kind of outside of Buffalo. It's called Lewistown area. They have or they did at one point, an agreement with the Lewistown police for investigative matters. But I don't know how Canada works, so I will take you at your word. I just don't think that I really don't think the secret could be kept. Sassy's Fabby says, Gavin, according to their mom, they didn't know about stranger danger. It makes me wonder if they would respond to searches or not. Yeah, and according to the guy who created the app, they typically don't. Right? Let me go back over here. What does it say? They typically are initially, or it says while they may be initially unresponsive, they become responsive when they're hungry. So yeah, maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. And I know that these are special needs kids. Like she described them as being on the autistic spectrum, the mild. So it's very difficult to know how they would respond. Let's bring them back up. Don Young says, close neighbor said it was a party house but didn't know there were kids. Hard for me to believe because school bus would have stopped at the house twice a day on school days. Yeah. Yeah. And something that's very interesting about witnesses is that 10 people could witness the exact same event and come away with 10 different stories on how it happened. I remember years and years ago, I was pumping gas. I was like putting gas in my car at a gas station on, at an intersection when I heard the crash of a car. I looked up. So I didn't see the impact, didn't see the crash, but then the car came up into the gas station. Like it hopped the curb and went and came to a stop there, one of the cars. And later on, I got a call from, the insurance adjuster asking me for my version of events. And she's like, that's not what anybody else has said. And I was like, well, I mean, to me, it's clear as day. I remember it. It happened day before yesterday. And this was the pump that I was at. And that's where I saw it. So it's witnesses can see different things and remember things differently. So, but I agree with you. If it was a party house and the school bus is stopping all the time, kind of hard to not know that kids were there. Oh, here's a great comment. Gavin, his family kicked her off the property. Perpetrators often stick around the crime scene. I think that is true. Yes. So many. Kent says, Daniel's 2 children that are older that are with the other woman, they do not live in the home there with the mother. Thank you for that. I did not know that. I'm not sure about polygraph, Doreen. Let's see. Lorraine, hello, Mr. Gavin. Please just call me Gavin. It's nice having you on here from the States. Well, we care about our neighbors to the north. Love you guys. Heck Jess says, I think this is neglect on both parents' parts. They blamed each other, decided it was best to separate. For all we know, they were on the rocks before this happened. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we don't know. All right, guys. Great comments as always. I thank you very much. We're not going to get to all of them, but thank you very much. And thanks for keeping this case top of mind. This is a super important case that we are going to continue to come back to. I really am hoping that there is a happy ending to this story, though I will not fool myself into believing that as days and weeks pass, the likelihood is that there will be. We looked at those statistics in the app. This app, it's $9.99 on the App Store. It's called Lost Person Behavior, and what is the bike wheel model? Axle planning. Oh wow, guys, this is such a great app for crying out loud. Like this is, the author, Robert J. Coaster, has been active in search and rescue since 1981, a search mission coordinator and instructor for the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, former president of the Virginia Search and Rescue Council, and a member of the Appalachian Search and Rescue Conference. Robert has also worked for or contracted with the United States Coast Guard, NASA, National Park Service, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and DHS Science and Technology. He is a fellow at Kingston University, London. He has authored numerous books and papers on search and rescue and is an international presenter trainer. Pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. So yeah, check that out. I think that we can learn a lot, and I think this might be a resource for me anytime we are talking about missing persons. Hey, at the end before you go, we got to do our shameless self-promotion. It's shameless self-promotion. If you have not been to my website, it's gavinfish.com. There's always a link to it down below. You can contact me by clicking on this little icon right here. That will take you to a form that you can fill out. It does get to me. It does reach me. Cases, these are case files on many of the cases that I have been reporting on over the 4 or 5 years that I have been on YouTube. So I suggest that you check that out. Also, if you go to the Support Me tab, scroll on down to the bottom, and buy Autumn our lead mod a coffee. She deserves it. If you're game. And then lastly, if you click on this little fishy, that will take you to the fish tank. We are a growing little group on Facebook, coming up on 4,500 members. We like to talk about all sorts of things, true crime. And oh my goodness, the cases of Valeria Marquez and Jose Maria, Estupinian. I'm hoping to get some kind of expert to come on the channel to talk about femicide. So if you're into that kind of thing, yeah, stick around, will you? All right, with that, we'll be back tomorrow with another live stream, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, I bid you adieu and hope to see you tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.